base? And I said, yes. And she goes, you were terminated from the base. And I looked at Greg and I said, oh, shit. So I was young and very, very naive. So I knew I was, and that moment, you can see what happened for me doing that. I was identified already as a problem. And that's in the book, all of that stuff. And so as the days proceeded, I went through some real ugly stuff. That night, New Year's Eve came and went, that's all in the book. Probably using sodium amythol and a lot of hypno, horrible thing. So, yeah, I'm coming right to it. So as the days went by, I was a dreadful letter writer. I have a family in the room right now, and or previous, but still family, and I'm just not a letter guy. And I never, back in letters, there was no Facebook, younger people. And so I figured on January 6th, it turned out, I wrote my mother a letter. Again, this is recounted in Left at Eastgate, but I wrote a letter to my mother going, oh, I'm fine, this, that, and the other, and remember when I got cut off on the phone. I mailed the letter from the base post office, as an APO, Air Post Office, on the 7th of January. Sent it to my mother. Did she comment on it? We never talked on the phone about it. My mother responded to me on the 21st of January. I have that letter. I have my original letter and the original envelope and the APO stamps and everything. And it's quite interesting, because, but when you hear about it, guarantee the significance of this. I told my mother, I tried to be real cool. I kind of condensed information. I don't remember how I know about John Jim's incident. It was not Adrian Bastinza telling me anything. I didn't know him and didn't talk to him until March of that year. That's a fact. No one told me anything. And I sent this letter to my mother. Holt eventually did his memo, maybe that day, and then my mother responded to me. But what I have here, because this guy's been haunting me, I can't find my mother's, it's in the house, but I have the actual letter that I wrote and what I wrote to her on the 6th of January, days after.
Right. Now this is the key thing in police evidential terms. Okay, if you will now, Larry, now I've not seen all this. Larry, you take this out. Now his mother, as often did mothers do, they, from servicemen, they would keep the letters sent by their respective loved ones who were overseas, blah, blah, blah. Well, bless her cotton socks, she kept the letter. But not only did she keep the letter, she kept the original envelope. Wow, think about it. So, Larry, you are telling me, and I'm going to phrase it this way, you are telling me that this is written on?
I wrote this letter on, this is 6th January 1981.
Right, just stop there. So this letter was written on the 6th of January 1981. Let's just kill the lights, please, Pierre. This is very dramatic, this is all goes well. And here we have the Holt Memorandum. Now, it's a little bit fuzzy, but the date on that is the 13th of January. So put the lights back on, please, Pierre. So, if, and I'm going to say it in this way, because it's not being for forensic analysis, but the potential implication is that if this is, as Larry says, the original letter, which I have no reason to disbelieve, and it certainly looks old, right? Was the original letter that he sent to his mother, and that is the original envelope that's dated January of 1981.
Air Force Postal Service.
Right? Right, just let me take the actual letter. Now I can verify, and I'm not going to lie to you because there's no point, and we will take copies of this at some point. But the date in the right-hand corner says the 6th of January. I'm going to show this to the front row. Too late. There you go. Can you confirm? I've not seen this before. This is purportedly from 1981. Can you confirm that this is the 6th of January? You see, with gusto. Yes. Right. And this side, just so this young lady can say it to us. There you go. So, if, and I do believe this is January, because what would be the point of him lying? In in front of 120 people, helpers and speakers who were noted people who go, evidence, evidence, I believe this is an original document. Now, what is the significance? The whole memorandum is on the 13th of January. And it was, the whole memorandum was written to the MOD. It actually was received, I think, on the 15th of the MOD. It was passed to Squadron Leader Morland, who then submitted it to the MOD. But the point is, which comes first? This, or the whole memorandum on the 13th? The whole memorandum was never supposed to be released into the public domain. This was the Deputy Base Commander of a nuclear base. It was never supposed to ever see the light of day. This is just young men caught up in a UFO incident. And if, before I make my final point, can you find a bit where you kind of refer to it?
I don't kind of, I do.
All right, well, if you can do that, that'd be brilliant.
Well, my handwriting's dreadful, and again, I put a lot of things. Now, you don't want to upset your parents, so I'm asking for some friends of mine that went in addresses too. I don't know why she would have known them. There's another point on this you'll find interesting.
Okay.
What I did, it's a long, I talk about the hostages crisis ongoing.
That was ongoing. Two key things happening at the time of Rendlesham. I've talked about it before. Two world events that was effectively putting in the context of why there was a UFO inspection of the weapons storage area at Rendlesham Forest. That's what I firmly believe it was. There was more nuclear weapons in the Bentwater storage, weapons storage area than there was anywhere else in Europe. And the point being, none of them should have been there. Everybody thought they were at the base nearby, Greenham Common, in the Glickham, as it was called. Some of my colleagues used to go and have an attachment to the Glickham, the Greenham Common. All the piece of dressing around over. All right. Now, Larry sent a letter on the 6th of January.
Yeah, well, I go through a lot of basic things, and I go, remember I was telling you about that UFO that landed? Well, I'll tell you the whole story on it.
Right, let's just stop there. Now, bear in mind, he has no idea what I'm going to say to him. We've not rehearsed this, and he's handing me stuff, and you don't have a clue how to do it. Right? Can you just verify the word that's written on there in big capital letters near the top? UFO. Can you verify that word? Right, I'll do it this side. Has that been preferential treatment to you? You mean you didn't see it the first time? Right? Yeah. UFO. So, what is the significance of UFO in capitals? What it means is that this guy is writing the first document in the public domain in the world about a UFO incident at Rendlesham Forest. So it's not all these dodgy conspiratorial elements. The significance of this letter, if genuine, and I have no reason to believe it's not genuine, is that a week before Colonel Holt, Lieutenant Colonel Holt, as was told reluctantly, it's on British soil, go right to the MOD. He hung fire, he didn't want to write it, and then he wrote it on the 13th. So a whole week before, we now have an original document that's never been seen in this manner in the world of the Rendlesham Forest. So this is a first today. This is the original letter with the original envelope. That's the key thing. Anybody who collects model toys and things like that, it's not worth much, out the box kind of thing. The original envelope, the original stamps, the military stamp around it, the date, January 91. This is a major historical document about Rendlesham Forest, and it is a real revelation because it predates the whole memorandum that was never supposed to come out, but it's describing a UFO event. It's not a PSYOP. It's in capital letters, and the people in this room on the first row verified it. The significance of this letter is immense. Now, I think we are going to have to, for bias, have it tested so nobody can then say that he made it up. That being right, you've got to forensically test it. It's the right paper, right at the time. Like with the binary codes that I said to Jim Peniston, I am very suspicious of the binary codes, especially the manner in which came out. I'm very suspicious of the former detective. But if it's to stand any credibility, and he says he'll do it, but he's not done it yet, Peniston has to release the book to independent forensic science labs to verify the age of the paper and the ink. So i.e. it's 30 odd years old and it's 30 odd years ink old. Yeah? So if that panned out, which is debatable, but if that was panned out, then it would have more credence that he did do it at the time frame he said. But until he does it, I'm very suspicious. Does that make sense? Because he hung on to it for 30 years, and who was the one person he could have told? Who was the one person who would not have said he was mad? John Burroughs, who was out in the woods with him and saw the triangle craft, albeit he described it in a different manner. But he was the one person saying, hey, something strange happened to me. Next day, I started to write these zeros and ones in. To hold on to it for 30 years, to not tell John Burroughs until October 2010, is that plausible? Not for me. But to have any credibility, that has to be tested. But this is dynamite. And you cannot take this away from Larry Warren, as many people would like to do. This is a piece of documentary evidence that could stand up in a court of law. When was this letter written about the murder? Oh, it was written on the 6th of January, Your Honour. That's the significance of that. It would be held, and if it was verified, held up in evidence in court of law in a murder case. Yes, that's when he said he was going to kill her, and 2 days later he didn't. See what the significance?
If I can say what the letter does verify. See, Peter and I dealt with it in the book, but it was Peter retyped it, and it probably the impact that was so much, we were pressed for so much in those days because we were the only ones pushing. And what you find in this, I saved everything. My mother did. I saved all the letters that came to me. And my mother, I have the actual letter she wrote to me. Peter, later on, download his new book, by the way, because you will see the actual thing, talking about the hostages being released on the 21st of January. Everything in time, but even in this, what I do, I go at length almost describing the whole memo before it was even written, because I was trying to be safe. But I write just in a time frame. Hey, guess what? I'm going to see The Who in London on March 11th. And that was the Face Dances tour at Wembley Arena, and that can be checked, I'm sure. And I did go, and the Q-Tips with Paul, what's his name? They had read Every Time You Go Away. He was the lead singer of the Q-Tips. Anyone know that song? And the end of this is that, because I was a young asshat, stupid kid, but thinking I was getting through with this, I wrote, there's a lot of family things in this. The handwriting's horrendous. But at the end, I wrote, P.S. Ma. And what this letter proves, because it said, remember the UFO I was telling you about, that verifies I called her, because that's what the phone call I'm referring to. P.S. Ma, when I get home, I'll tell you the truth about the UFO. I can't in the mail, they read it. And that's how smart I was in 1980.
That was amazing.
Yeah, my mother was a bookkeeper in business, and when she got this, she used the back of this to do household, because my mother is very distinct, excellent writing, and so she's even done accounting on the back. And that's the actual thing, and it's APO, Air Post Office. I mean, Robert Salas here is an Air Force officer, captain, you know, and this is the thing, and I'm just trying to find my mother's whole bag, because I have that also. And Gary, I want to thank God, even though Peter is on, we had too much, it's too much to lay on anyone. But as a detective, he's seen the value in this even more than I did, other than, you know.
I've been bugging him for ages to see this.
Yeah.
Right, now, is Robert Salas in the room? Yes, right, well, I'm just going to have a little detour. Just to put you on the spot, Mr. Salas. Because you were, tell me what rank you were? What rank were you in the Air Force? Captain in the Air Force. Now, I guess you are much more familiar with these than I am. is this the kind of letter that you would expect to see of that kind of time frame? And if you can verify that that says January 1981? Just about to see it. Thank you very much. Right, thank you. As Captain Robert Salas is speaking tomorrow, and the impact of Captain Robert Salas in terms of evidential terms is the actually being caught up in one of the most memorable nuclear cases. So when he says and verifies that that's January 1981 and that's the right kind of envelope that you'd send in the Air Force at that time, that's pretty significant. That letter is a game changer about, for me, that this is definitely UFO related. So don't forget, all these other wild conspiracies that have come along in all the years, that says on 6th of January we're talking UFO. And it also refers back and confirming that Larry had spoken to his mother about an incident earlier. Yes? Whilst it's not precise, it references an earlier conversation. That puts the stamp of January 1981. This predates the whole memorandum. That is absolutely a major piece of documentary evidence that would stand up in a court of law, in my opinion. Brilliant.
And I'm going to say it's my honor to turn this over to you and do your detective fun with it and run with it and do what you want. Because it's about, it only took 34 years for someone to grab this thing where it needed to be and put this thing more in perspective. And I thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. Now, just as an aside, in the time that we've got, we've still got half an hour left. Now, I do plan to do just a couple of video clips of UFOs, basically. So I thought you might want to see some of the news. And, so basically, one other aspect that I wasn't aware of, I knew that Larry, every now and again, had the impulse to do some kind of paintings. I think you'd shown me a drawing or a small picture once before, but I've never seen these. So in, say, the next 10 to 15 minutes, if you can do that. In fact, no, do this 5 minutes and then we'll go to 2 photographs that I want to discuss.
Oh dear.
All right. So if you want to discuss these and put them in the context in which they were painted.
I was here to, Gary kindly asked me to help introduce speakers. I was happy to, I like doing those things now because my co-author is going to present you with something, well, don't listen. And all the speakers are great. And Mary, you talking about the arts and with the experiences. I will tell you this, and this would came in my day when I went public in '82. I didn't come out with the binary and this new encounter in Rendlesham ain't nothing new under the sun. I've been public with this, fighting for this in public since 1982. CNN did a 3-part special assignment in 1984 on it. It was the highest rated thing. This thing is not new. And there were witnesses on it you'll never see again. Unfortunately, if you read the book, what you'd find out, and it would probably, is that I've had an experiencer, I guess, whatever you call this stuff. I was a very close friend of Bud Hopkins for many, almost 30 years. And all that, I never felt comfortable in the support group things, and I didn't, but I drank a lot then anyway. I had other things more important apparently. But sure enough, since I was a little kid, I've had experiences, and I do recount some in the book. And I mean wide awake experiences, and not from a UFO type of family. There are people in this room that know my family on the other side of the world very well. And I'm not from that. Did have a shared experience with my mother, but I've had things in my life since I was a child. And I think that has probably continued, another interesting thing you talk about, because I am a father. And without Rendlesham, I would not have been a father. So I got something good out of a real ugly, dark 1980 bang. So something golden came out. So I wasn't hurt all the way. I won in the end. But some years ago, and I will say someone, my son's mother is an art student, in Liverpool with all the John Lennon school, so she knows art. I didn't. I used to draw as a kid, do things. But suddenly I started to go through a phase where I worked at B&Q. I mean, with all this money we got from the book and women, I said, I'm going to go slum at B&Q for a while. And or protect Testo cheese as a security guard. The important things in life. Sure enough, in the midst of all that, B&Q had these little pots of paint, and I said, you know what? And I was doing, I won't look in a direction, but do you remember when I was doing all the magic market things? I couldn't work for a year. I was doing crazy things. Kind of fun. My mother's an artist, but it never really was something I did. I played in bands and all. So sure enough, I would get these little pots of testers and B&Q and the discount, and I started painting Jimi Hendrix on what I thought was, they're very one-dimensional and flat. As the years went on, I threw things on and made them up. But I started to go through a thing about 5 years ago, literally, where suddenly, if you've ever had an addiction to anything, you know, whatever it might be, there's something rides you, the monkey on your shoulder, that kind of thing, and it drives you crazy till you get your fix. And I started, not that I'm a junkie or anything, but I mean, that genre, that thought, that thing goes on. So what happened, I started to get these images in my head. I hate saying symbols because they're not part of Rendlesham. I have nothing to do with that, by the way, whether it be real or not my business. Didn't happen to me. And so I started to come in my head, boom, I'd have to run out and get more high quality art stuff, art material, and I can only describe it this way. There are people here that can verify it, and when you see these, you won't believe these in the time. I would throw the thing down and then throw paint all over the thing, and I would tell you I don't remember the beginning. I remember beginning it, seeing it, and I remember it ending. Now this sounds like some wackadoo thing, and these things would be accomplished within a half hour, complete. And then they wouldn't happen for a long time. That's one. And I felt like bringing these. I don't know why. No one sees these. They sit in my house. You know, I do them. Dennis, my son, always said, Dad, you got to have a show. My co-author is an artist and trained. And these things come to me. These are three-dimensional. You can actually touch these. I don't know what that is. I don't know what that is. This happens, and when it's done, it's like, boom. And I go, how the F did I do that? And then I just put them away. Don't mean much to me. And this is another thing. And I had a guy, there's a guy, Win Keach, and I think I brought this particular piece here. This is something very dark. This disturbs me. I know it disturbs you. This is something very weird. It's abstract. There was no intent to any of this. It just happens and bang. And you see maybe what you want in them. Well, I'll put them out. Everyone will look at them and all that too. But it's weird craziness. But these are kind of, I started to get fancy. But they're like the roads going through the crop circle places down south and all. And then it was looking from aerial. But I would get these things and I just try to make them, I don't know what, that was early stuff when it would come to me. This crazy thing, another one, there's a road with the little bushes and all that. I try to get artistic. I don't know what these are, you know, but it's supposed to be, to me, these were crop things. And that's another one. With these are roads and stuff, but they're just early things. But these weren't so obsessive. They were just, let's look at it. This one, I had commentary from a guy named Win Keach in this country, and he must deal with crop circles, I guess. I showed him this some years ago. And this actually, part of this appeared in after I did this, because I date these, after I did it, that kind of thing appeared in Wiltshire, apparently, something, so he was blown away. I don't know what it means. I can only get partial symbols, so if I only see partial symbols or whatever, that's all I can grab, and then it's done. I can't explain any of this, so no one gets out of here alive. This one is bothersome. It's to me, there's technology there. I just see this thing, and I knew when to, you don't know when to stop, and I don't understand it at all. And I'm not an artist. There's a lot of dimensions, and there's three-dimensional stuff. That one kind of weird, and some of the heavier ones I didn't even bother to bring. I don't even know why I brought these. This one, again, is a thing I've seen, and over and over until I did the painting. I started seeing this all the time, just seeing this and dreaming it and all, and so I go, okay, and I hit this thing, and I'm telling you, that's about a half-hour work right there. That's it, and I'm not kidding. So could I do that now? No. Could I ever recreate that? No. But that's how it happens. Otherwise, my painting is very flat, and a guy trying to be an artist. Can't explain these, it's one more weird to it, and now it's gone away. It's been a year, I've done nothing, so who knows? But you brought that to my mind, Mary. Thank you for that, with all the people you've worked with. Thank you. Really means a lot.
Thank you for that.
I found I let them know. Thank you. Just we're down the road.
Right now, as I say, that's just an odd thing. We don't know what it means, you don't know what it means, you don't know where it comes from. I'm not an artist at all. I've never written or I've never painted anything in my life. But if they were done in half an hour, he's a genius. Because there's a lot of layers in that. And to me, they look quite complicated paintings. So that's just an aside, but I thought it's worth bringing to you because they've never been seen. And I think they should be seen because, as Mary alluded to, people suddenly get impulses to do imagery. And when he saw Mary, he said, I've got these paintings. And I said, well, you should show them.
There's a reason, isn't there? Thank really.
Right, we have got 20 minutes left to do the final segment.
Can I just say, I'll find some place and just lay these out because they're really hard, and you guys can look at them yourself. You can touch them and see what it says to you, and let me know because I don't.
They're only £10,000. Not that he's in it for
My
the
budget.
Right, now there's one more area. Pia? I didn't even say move the lines, but there you go. I just said Pia. But there you go. Well done. Right, now, let's set the scene for the last 20 minutes, because my video is going out the window because of you. But that's fine, because this is more important, because this is back to Rendlesham Forest. Now tell the story of this first image. Well, and I know that Peter is going to do much more in-depth bit, but I think it's, I've become aware of this because Peter sent me links to it, or Steve Mera has, about Peter's new book, but it relates to a photograph taken by Larry Warren.
Are you going to show the basic real? Okay, this is great. Great place to start. You want me to do it?
Yeah. Now, what I can say straight away is this is taken from the PDF that's in Peter's book, because it's in the 7th section, is that right? In the new book, right? And Peter's going to be talking about that shortly in the next lecture, so it falls in nicely. But when was that picture taken? Let's set the scene.
Yeah.
This is looking towards which part?
Yeah, still, I got to set it up a little bit real quick. This is 28th of December, 1980. And if you see in our book, I bought a Keystone camera. I had a camera in high school. I went to school in England. You know, as an exchange student, had a camera that died on me the first week in Denmark. So I went to the base exchange and I bought a Keystone 110 camera. Came out of the base, 3 friends of mine and myself, and a guy named Jim Harper he had a car, was driving us to the free bus on the other side of Woodbridge base from Bentwaters in his car. So I took a shot of the main gate, which is on the day of my incident. So the incidents were already happening when I take this, but I didn't know they were. I snapped the picture of the main gate of Bentwaters. It says alert condition. Got back in the car, and then we left, and we went over to Woodbridge base. As we're driving down, this is Rendlesham Forest here. As we're getting down and turning toward Eastgate Road, which was a back access road during the day, to cross through the base to the main road, and the free buses to Ipswich, where we were going for the afternoon before our shift started that night. It sounds almost too good. Now, I saw an A10 coming in. He did a turn. I remember this. I got out. I said, we had A10s around us, over us. We worked with them all day long, all night. And he just was coming, but I felt compelled, again, to take a picture there. I said, stop the car. And they said, let's get going, because they, whatever it was. And I took the 10, that's an A10 tank killer, at distance with a very bad camera, just testing it. And he had to crank it, right? So it turned, and then the runway's over here. We went down Escape Road. This, over here, a little more, the pines would all start, right? This is the low entryway for the planes coming to land. So as that happened, we went to Ipswich. You can read that whole day, but the significance of this picture, which don't look like much, meant nothing to me other than it bothered me for the last 34 years. And so a few weeks ago, I'm on this Facebook madness, and I had this thing. It's important here in some woo-woo kind of way, which ain't unusual to me, but I have a segment on my Facebook that years ago, my friend Lindsay, who I worked with, she knows computers. She actually scanned pictures of mine into my Facebook thing. And I had Bentwaters back in the day. I have a segment on the World Trade Center. I have a segment on all different things. And I put a number of pictures of Bentwaters from my time there. This one got in the cut. I said, it's not interesting, but let's put it in. It'd be almost a throwaway if you saw it. Well, that was on my Facebook the last 4 years in that segment. So I'm loading all of a sudden, real quick, I posted, I saw a picture of Jim Harper who had the car, and he's like this, and it was the day I was leaving the base, and for some reason, and it had nothing to do with the incidents, I found his picture, I posted it on my page, and I said, anyone know where this guy Jim Harper is? I've been looking for this guy for years. I'm thinking, why am I even after him? And then I started posting Ben Waters' pictures throughout for 2 days. The next day I get to this guy, and I'm like, should I post that? It looks like nothing of much. And then I look to the side where people can comment on your pictures. There was only one comment, because it's not really something you'd look at. And a guy named Mick Sayer from this country down south made a statement, Larry, what is that dot, that object above the A-10 aircraft? Now I had to look real close because there was a little dot, so I posted it. And I said, this was taken the day of the evening of before my thing happened. And there was actually 2 things. Now what happened is, as I get on, there's a lot smarter people than me that I'm friends with on there. And suddenly people started running filters, doing this and that. In the end, by the time I was blown away, and what you're gonna see on my son's head, which means something in Liverpool, is exactly, and by the way, Bruce McAbee was an what's it called?
He's a naval physicist.
Yeah,
optical physicist.
Optical physicist of the U.S. Navy and a doctor, and he made a comment after all these internet jockeys were doing great work, and he said, this is an object tens of feet, and this and that and the other. And so I'm like, oh, this is unbelievable, but I will tell you, on my son's head and on my family's head, my name, this is only a week ago, 2 weeks ago, the object, what is above that aircraft, which probably doesn't see it, is the exact thing I've described for 34 years and could never describe exactly. You're looking at it in daytime, in the air, and that's all I can say. People do what they want because it's a, I don't know what this is.
Right, just hold it for there. Now, what I want to do is invite 3 random people out of the audience. Would you come out, please? Now, obviously, because this is taken from a PDF and quickly loaded and turned into a JPEG, and of course, that will never reflect the true sharpness of the image. This is what was from the PDF file. Can you confirm that there is actually a dark mark above the A10?
There is indeed, yes.
And very faint, there is actually another one which you can't really see in this, but the main one that's for analysis, yeah, is that first one.
Yes, indeed.
Right, all right, would you sit down and thank you? Right, I'll now get somebody else. Would you come out, please? And this is just verifying that in the actual A10 picture, which is sharper, there is a dark mark. It's not specific in this first picture. Can you confirm that?
Absolutely, yeah.
All right, thank you very much.
What's anything on there, please?
Yeah, right. That's the point where I'm getting people out of the audience because they're doing it for me, right? Now here's the significance, right? Now some people started to do the analysis, which is what Larry Warren has just been describing. And when I say that Bruce McAbee made a comment, that is phenomenal. He's like the Scarlet Pimpernel. He disappears for a long, long time, and then suddenly he'll come up. And you think, is he still alive? But he is a fantastic analyst of imagery. And he's absolutely, he's an old guy now, but he is a fantastic track record of looking at anomalous images. And for him to make a comment like that is pretty special. Now this is basically, Larry, right? So the dark object that in the picture is there, and I can actually see a little mark here on the screen, but you won't see it from where you are. But the 2 people on the front row have verified that it's there. Is that?
That's what I stood in front of, though, 15 feet from. And I will tell you that it was probably 30 feet at the base. And it is exactly, and by the way, I encourage you, the next speaker is Peter Roberts, my co-author. He's written a new book, and this, you must go through this thing because it's not all text, but it will straighten your heads out on Rendlesham. Believe me, it took 34 years for me to breathe easy, but this thing, I'm telling you, I drew pictures trying to capture this for the last 34 years and explain it. It's not the Peniston thing they describe. This thing is exactly, and that means, I'll tell you, I didn't plan this, and this just came out. That is exactly the thing I stood in front of, but it goes to more of a peak. It is delta shaped, it's going out at you, and the thing above it is like a dark bullet, like a thing. It was there the whole time then. And I was compelled to take this. The pictures bothered me for no good reason. I never even really noticed anything with it. And thank God, all you good eyes out there, because now I can show you exactly, instead of drawing really bad pictures that my son would do better, exactly what I stood in front of, just to the left of that front part coming out. And it seems unbelievable, and why now? But I tell you what, on my son's head, I took that picture and that thing was there. And then, unfortunately, later at night, it was right in my face. And that I say on my son's head too.
So let me just clarify what you're saying. What you're saying is this photograph was taken by what appeared to be pure chance hours before you became involved in the Rendlesham Forest Incident.
About 12 hours before my involvement.
But the key thing is prior to. And again, if this is verifiable as a photograph, then you have got a freakish object that somebody of the eminence of Bruce Maccabee has said is tens of meters, that is, for him to say is pretty special, and it's literally hours before the third night takes place. And we know that there was a second night, so what we're saying is that if this photograph is genuine, and I have no reason to say it's not genuine, that proves that there was something flying around the base in the pertinent period between the 26th and 28th of December 1980. And it took 34 years for that piece of the jigsaw to fall into the place. Now, I think that's pretty special.
The picture was a problem for me, though. I will tell you, when I took that picture, you don't remember taking a picture really 34 years ago. I've always remembered snapping that for some reason. And it always kind of just, why even keep it? But I will tell you, that thing he's showing you there, that you have to pull this in to even see that. Did you see structure to that? I'm asking, did you see definition? Not like a, okay, I will tell you that except being on the ground and way bigger than what you might think, that's what I stood in front of, and many other guys, and we paid a damn price for a long time, so I'm glad I could show you what it was. Thank you.
Right now. So, I think that was a good way, as things have developed, that was actually, I think, a very pertinent, especially the letter and this photograph. It's absolutely new information. And that letter, for me, as a police officer, former police officer, is dynamite. It's the world's first documentary piece of evidence in the public domain about a UFO incident at Bentwater.
I can see people probably say, why is it always him? But why him always? But you know what? That's the way it was been. We're all born to do something, maybe, other than hopefully be a good father. This is the one good thing I was supposed to be able to do, and it wasn't an easy boat. Who knows?
Right.
But I can't do it alone, thanks.
What you've got to put into context, and I said it earlier, is I've never meditated, never wanted to, but I respect people who do. I'm not religious, so I'm not biased in that way. The real thing is to have an open mind and not to say, I don't believe that, because then you're a fool. Because just because I don't experience it doesn't mean that you're not experiencing something real. Think about the experience. There is clear validation. You've only got to look at Mary Rodwell's very detailed and referenced slides to physicists, to doctors who are doing research at the top of the field. This is not just people making it up with no kind of reference point. They're putting names and their scientific capabilities and their academic background behind it. You know, when is it Cricker, the father of DNA, when he says, sorry? Yeah, he basically said our DNA is from ET. Now, we just don't sit and think about what the implications of that are. The guy who found DNA, he said that DNA is from ET. But that doesn't make the 6 o'clock news. For me, I think that should. Now, we're coming to the end of this, we're going to have a break. But I think that is pretty special. That letter, that original date stamp, that is evidence that would stand up in a court of law. And this is down to Larry Warren. Now that's good, but the thing is, everybody experiences a little bit. I decided at 15, I only became active when I really was 42 years old. So for 27 years it was there, in my subliminal, something had happened to me, and then what made me suddenly think I want to do research, I want to get involved, and led me on that path to Graham Birdsall that's brought me in, and I'm getting involved bigger and bigger. And if anybody had said to me I would be talking at the National Press Club where Nelson Mandela, JFK spoke, and you think, what? It's bizarre, but it's like your keys in a big jigsaw puzzle. Mary's got a piece of that jigsaw puzzle. Bridget, over there, an experience, has got a piece. Robert Salas has got a piece. Larry Warren's got a piece. They're all valid pieces of the jigsaw. Alan Foster, what made him, after his experience, think, I'm going to stand up and talk about this. Something gets under your skin and compels certain people to do certain things, and they don't honestly know why. But it brings you in. What made Richard Hall? Richard over there? Yeah, doing fantastic work with Rich Planet. What pulled him into it from his scientific engineering background? What was that? Which is your favourite punchline. And we're a bit of a double act as well, so I have to stop making these double acts up. But really, the reality is that we're all part of the jigsaw. We don't know what the big picture is, but there is definitely a picture emerging. So we have now got a 22-minute break by my watch, so you've got an extra 2 minutes. Do not gulp your tea down and burn your throats. Grab a tea. All right, we're back in 20 minutes.
Don't miss this next talk.